Today I'm going to be making mozzarella cheese. This is a really easy cheese to make. There's only 2 ingredients besides the milk. There's citric acid. This is the same stuff you use adding to tomatoes to acidify it when you're canning. And some rennet. You can buy the Junket rennet tablets. I really like this liquid rennet. And all we're going to do is add about a teaspoon of citric acid in a little bit of water. I've got maybe a quarter cup to a third of a cup of water here. So we're going to measure out a teaspoon. We're going to stir it to dissolve it. Add it to the milk as it's heating up. I got this milk heating to 90 degrees and I'm using this thermometer, which is waterproof and digital and an instant read, and I love it. So I pour it over a slotted spoon. I stir it up to incorporate it. I check my temperature, and when we hit 90 degrees, at that point I add the rennet. I don't add it beforehand. Something about cooking rennet makes it act funny. So we're just going to stir this up and add it, and we're about 1 degree away. So knowing this is going to work, again I'm going to add a little water to this glass, cold water, and I'm going to put in, for every gallon of milk you're going to add a quarter teaspoon of rennet. I've got a gallon and a half, so I'm going to do a quarter and an eighth and add these 2 in. I'm up to temp. I'm going to pour these in. Again, pour it over the top. And you may have heard that you should stir with a top-down motion. I usually stir it up really well first. And this is a lot of rennet per milk, so you don't get swirls as it sets up. This is when you finish up with a gentle up and down. You don't even have to go all the way through the thickness of your milk. Just kind of slowly incorporating the rennet. And then this hangs out for between 5 and 30 minutes. I'm going to do about 30, and this is the recipe from Ricky Carroll's cheese making book. Super easy. So we'll come back in 30 minutes, cut the curd, and stretch the cheese. Okay, it's been 30 minutes, so let's check the curd. What we're looking for is for it to be like custard and have a little give. So I'm just going to stick my finger in here. Push it in, and it's firm. Left a little hole, maybe you can see. We're good. So we're going to cut the curd. And we're just going to cut it in like 1-inch sections horizontally and then vertically. The other way around. If you've ever made chev or a hard cheese, the appearance of the curd is not the same uniform smooth, and that's okay. I do want to say with mozzarella, unfortunately anymore, in my experience, all of the milk that you buy from the store now is ultra pasteurized, and something about that heat treatment won't allow it to make mozzarella. You're going to need farm fresh milk. This is goat's milk. Cow's milk works too. We're going to turn the heat back up and stir the curds until we come to 110 degrees. From then, we stir it for another 2 to 5 minutes, and then we let it set for a couple minutes. And I'll turn off the heat. I'll save the whey. There's an easy way in Ricky Carroll's book or online. She talks about how to do this in a microwave. I just don't own a microwave, but you can also further heat up the cheese at that point in a microwave. We're just going to do it old school and dip it in the whey that's been heated up to 185 degrees. And then we'll stretch it and salt it and be done. So I'm just gonna heat this. We'll come back when it's warm to see how the curds have shrank. The heat shrinks the curds and they will sink, but that citric acid that we added kind of helps with the stretch, but you can already see this is kind of gloopy and stretchy. This is going to be a good batch of mozzarella. Your spring milk from your spring freshened animals makes the best mozzarella. All right, you don't want to watch me stir this all day, so I'll come back in a few. Okay, we're up to 110 degrees, and check out our curds. They've all sunk to the bottom and are pretty much in a mat. And this kind of looks like cheese already, but it's going to get even more uniform. So what we're going to do is pour the whey off into a smaller pot. We're going to heat it up and heat our curds in it. And the rest of the whey, I'm going to pour into this. And the whey is perfect for your farm animals. If you've got chickens, any extra calcium and protein that is lost in the whey is no longer lost. You can put it out in the yard for your chickens and it will help strengthen the shell of their eggs. If you don't have chickens, I mean your dog, your cats, any farm animals you have will appreciate it. So we're gonna pour this off. You just want enough in a smaller pan to submerge your cheese. And we're gonna heat this up to 185 degrees. And like I said, you could also use a microwave. The rest of this, we're pouring off for the birds. And this is why good cheese is expensive, because all of that milk is now whey and is kind of a waste product. You can save the whey also and make a ricotta cheese. That is a more finicky product to make. But at this point, what I do is I work with the curds a little bit to squeeze out any moisture. And the moisture is the same whey that we're heating up. So I'm going to squeeze it over this, and you can kind of watch all this liquid come out. We're just reducing the moisture content of our cheese curd by squeezing it around. And this is all that's left now from a gallon and a half of milk. So just while this is heating, I'm going to work it around. You can fold it on itself. That'll release a little more water. And the reason I'm wearing these gloves is because they look fantastic. And I thought, no, I'm just kidding. When we dip it in this 185 degree whey, it's obviously very hot. And so I need some kind of a barrier from that heat, and even still, I'll be sweating. So somehow with the microwave, it doesn't feel as bad, but this is what we have to work with right now. Okay, just check temperature. I'll let you come back when we're up to temp. Okay, our whey's at 185 degrees. So we are going to take our gloved hands, pick up our cheese curd, and submerge it. I kind of lay it on this spoon and I move it around like if you've ever been in a hot tub and you move your leg back and forth through the water, it makes it feel hotter. I kind of feel like the heat transfers through the cheese. If I move it around a little bit, submerge it, and what we're aiming for is for the cheese curd to get elastic and stretchy. And at this time of year, it's the easiest, this is the springtime, for your curd to get elastic and stretchy, the composition of your dairy animal's milk will change over the course of the season as their baby's nutritional demands change. And in the spring, I don't know if there's more carbohydrate or protein or fat or probably some water. It makes it more stretchy. In the fall, even adding citric acid, which adds to the stretchiness, it adds more acid, of course. Even in the fall, sometimes I don't manage to get it to stretch. However, it hasn't failed. You can still salt it and you will have delicious mozzarella that you can slice on bread and eat with a tomato and basil, or shred and add to your favorite dishes that call for mozzarella. So we will take it out. It's not going to be stretchy yet because this heat hasn't penetrated this curd. You can even break the curd in half and do half at a time. But I'm just going to kind of fold it and expose different parts of the curd to this heat. At some point you might even want to warm the whey back up. But we're just going to keep dipping until the heat transfers into all of this cheese curd. Moving it around. So again, all we added, we didn't have to add any special culture to this. No yogurt or buttermilk or store-bought culture. It's just citric acid, which isn't critical. It just adds to the stretch, and it's especially important in fall milk. And rennet. And rennet is, I bought animal rennet, which is derived from the stomach of nursing animals, pigs, goats, sheep, cattle. If you're opposed to that, you can also purchase a vegetable rennet. I get my rennet right from the New England Cheese Supply Company, which is Ricky Carroll's company up in Ashland, Massachusetts. She makes a good product. You can make your own vegetable rennet. I have tried without success, from stinging nettle, from certain thistles, no such luck. If you're adventuresome, you can make your own animal rennet if you butcher your own animals. It is a possibility. So I'm still folding, releasing moisture, trying to heat this all the way through. We can check the temperature of our whey. I'm sure it's dropped. We're at like 170. So I can hold it up off of the bottom of the pot and warm it back up. Also try to stretch this out and make it a little thinner, just so that the heat penetrates the curd a little better. So we're just moving the curd through the hot water, or the hot whey. You can use water. I just figure we already have warm whey, and it's an option. Flip it, warm it. And if you allow this whey to boil, that is a method of producing a type of ricotta cheese from the whey. A little bit elastic. It's not as stretchy as I would like it to be. This is certainly workable. I'm going to try submerging it just a little longer, seeing if we can get a better, looser stretch. Sometimes it'll just be really almost runny, kind of like a good bubble gum material, and kind of like, you know, when you first put in gum in your mouth and you go to blow a bubble and it's really soft and much more elastic and stretchy, and then after you've been chewing it for a while it gets firmer. You might notice your cheese being either one of those characteristics. Ideally it's like the softer, newer bubble gum, but either is going to make an acceptable cheese. We're not trying to make string cheese that you're gonna, peel out of a little plastic container and peel down. Just want something delicious to eat, which we have already achieved. All right. Let's give this a whirl. So, don't want to keep overcooking the curd. You can tell from the heat of the curd that we are warm enough. We are not getting it quite as smooth as we want it to be. But this will work. It's got a little stretch. And all we're going to do at this point is add salt. And you want about a teaspoon per gallon of milk. We need 1.5 gallons, so we're going to do about 1.5 teaspoons. And I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top of the cheese and work it in by just folding it and incorporating it. More. That was just 1 teaspoon, so we'll do half again. It's almost kind of like a bread dough. We're just folding to incorporate, to mix in the salt. And this is it. You could at this point put it in a brine. You can put it in a plastic bag or a plastic container in the refrigerator. It'll even freeze, and it freezes great. It thaws out great, and it can be used wonderful. It doesn't melt as nicely as store-bought cheese, but the flavor, I am partial, especially of goat's milk mozzarella, is unparalleled to anything you're going to find in the store. And there you have it. Enjoy.